You have successfully joined the webcast. Please stand by. The meeting will begin shortly. You have successfully joined the webcast. Please stand by. The meeting will begin shortly.
If you go to the apartment,
You have successfully joined the webcast. Please stand by. The meeting will begin shortly. You have successfully joined the webcast. Please stand by. The meeting will begin shortly. You have successfully joined the webcast. Please stand by. The meeting will begin shortly. You have successfully joined the webcast. Please stand by. The meeting will begin shortly. You have successfully joined the webcast. Please stand by. The meeting will begin shortly.
please turn off your cell phones.
All right, welcome to the Village of Wappers Falls final budget meeting of the Mayor and the Board of Trustees. Today is Wednesday, April 29th. Can you please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance?
To the flag of the United States of America, to the republic which stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, clerk, roll call.
Mayor Huber.
Present.
Trustee Nicholas.
Here.
Trustee Tilisak.
Here.
Trustee Marshall.
Here.
Trustee Mash.
Here.
Trustee Ruffin.
Here.
Trustee Smith.
Here.
Village Attorney Lindars, absent. And I have, oh, we're not going to vote on warrants.
Nope.
Take that out. Regular session. Resolution number 2424 of 2024.
Okay, can I get a motion to pass this year's budget at 3.52%?
Mayor, correction, 3.45.
Or 5%, sorry.
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second? There's not a second? All right, well, I can honestly say that I've done my due diligence as a mayor. Yesterday, I left my house at 9 o'clock in the morning, and I made sure every trustee has gotten the updated version of this. I spent time in their driveways, I spent time on their front porches, and I spent time in their dining room. I didn't get home till 6 o'clock. So which way would the board like to go? To raise our taxes?
I just want to say one thing. The way we used to do these budget meetings, we bring every department head in, which Al, you can vouch for that. Every department head came in. You know what we've done? I haven't sat on one. One with Carl Calabrese to cut some of the police. So you know what? How can you do something like this when, you know what, if you get it so low that we're not gonna be able to afford to do any projects. Now they're cutting people's jobs and stuff like that. You know what? I'd rather pay a couple % more. At least I'll be getting my roads done and some projects done. But if you cut us so low, we're not gonna have any breathing room.
I can honestly say, the roads will get done. There is money in that line for those roads to get done, Trustee Marshall.
Yeah, but what's your point? You're gonna be cutting jobs, right?
The residents came to us last week and yelled at us for 3 hours. And I also remember a resident stating, he came up here and asked for 5 people to raise their hand to not pass this budget. So I took that in consideration, that we need to lower the percentage rate, and I did.
Can I come up?
Can I
Not
speak
yet.
for a second? Just, Trustee Marshall was seated on April 1st. We did our budget meetings in March, starting on March 6th, all the way through. Department heads, board members, taking it all into consideration. I have spent every day, and every night working on this budget, with the mayor, with trustees, with everybody. The only thing that changes in the new budget, 3.45, is looking at new employees that have been hired. A while back, we had a DEC compliance with lead and copper, and we had to do inventory, and they justified hiring another man in water. That's fine.
That's not true.
That's fine.
Water comes out, it doesn't come
No,
out
I'm
of
not,
taxes.
Donnie, it's part of the
It
story.
doesn't come out of taxes.
I'm
That's
not talking about that.
Tell.
Can I please?
It's not true.
Okay, it's not true.
I'm not there, I'm not at the end.
Let her finish.
We did. So now we hired a consultant to do it, which is fine. The second man that was in water was originally a highway guy. He got hired in October to be highway. But we were short men in water, so we sent him to water. But then we hired the third one in January. So now there has been another man hired in highway, just to fill it. Wasn't properly posted, wasn't advertised. That's not my business, that's the board's. That's fine. But the man, now that we've hired a contractor to do the inventory, could have come back to highway or been shared. They're laborers. They're interdispersible. You can use them either way. It doesn't matter. So we still have an extra body. That is what this budget presents. It presents paid time off. It presents vacations. It presents health insurance costs. It presents the things that we talked about, the things that we belabored. If you're going to keep a tax rate at 6.69 or 7% or whatever it was, then for God's sakes, I implore you to keep that in contingency in case we have infrastructure failure. Not because, just because. Our roads are being maintained in this budget. If you look under CHIPS, you will see the roads have paved, sidewalks, everything is in here. The structural integrity is still here from whether it's 7% or 3.45. The only thing that changes was actions that have been taken. Are they necessary? One doesn't know. But you can go back to your people that you have to lay off and come back as seasonal or come back to hire if you need to. But for right now, we were spoken to for a better part of an hour last week about how we need to look at the taxpayers' bottom line. And that is what we did. Nothing has changed in this budget other than what I just told you. So if you want to keep it at 7%, I'm all for that. I will go do the calculations right now. But I implore you to keep it in your contingency and your slush funds, not in bodies that are just taking up space. I respect all employees, but it's sometimes when you're in austerity measures and you can make do with 8 men as a labor crew, then you can. But I don't want to hear that every single day and night that my value has not been brought to this table when I have worked and crunched numbers. This mayor has been on the board the longest, and he can tell you that he knows this budget inside and out, because I made sure he was educated enough to know this is their budget. They need to make sure they stand behind it, not because of a deal or anything else. But I will tell you something, every day for the last 3 weeks is a constant battle in my office. Constant. And I will tell you something right now, that if this community doesn't look to this board to help them, any which way is fine. You want to keep the tax rate higher, make sure you have a slush fund, because we don't have one right now. We have $40,000. So if you want to go 7% because you think that's what we should do, then make sure we look at our contingency lines. Because last year we blew through $192,000 worth of it.
You spent $90,000 on a labor attorney. What a waste. To go after employees.
to go after employees.
That has nothing to do with this budget.
I get that, but you were over last year because of that, and then the police department's what, 160, 180?
Board makes decisions when it comes to that. I'm
Mayor?
telling you that these
Yes.
numbers have,
If I may,
sure.
I agree entirely with what you said. I appreciate all the work you did. You were on my porch. Yeah, I know. You went and saw everybody. I agree that the budget numbers here are numbers that we can probably work with. I don't like them, but we can. But I also think we do need to rebuild that contingency. We need to have, because something's going to happen. I don't know what, I don't know when, I don't know how, but something will happen. So I think we need to be prepared for that. Because if I sit here and tell you that I'm going to vote for a 3% budget, then next year we're going to be in the same darn place we are right now.
And
We
Trustee
need to
Tilleshab,
have a
I
contingency.
respect you for that, but the point is, the difference in the two budgets doesn't do that. It keeps seats and bodies warm. That's what it's doing. It's paid time off, it's vacation, it's salaries, it's retirement, it's in health insurance costs. We discussed this. We're at $1 million. So if in good conscience, that's what this board can say, that's fine, because every day I have been taking heat over a board's budget that I'm facilitating crunching numbers. If you don't want me to crunch numbers, you don't want me to show you the bare bones or the truth to it, that's fine. But I don't need to be ridiculed every single day. And I didn't say you did, but I will just tell the community up front, it is not a fun place to sit every day. I'm being very honest with you. So this budget is very responsible. It addresses everything we need to address. If you want to go up, then I would recommend putting in a contingency. That's what I would recommend.
Concur.
I would just like to know that in 4 hours, when we had the budget meeting, it was 942 or something, or 96.
No,
Nine.
6.63.
No, it was above that one. The one,
Not tentative.
it was tentative, 9
That's
something.
just rolling over and what we.
9 something. And 4 hours later, we got it to 663. In 4 hours.
The April 1st.
This money didn't even come out of,
$310,000 out of Bain Park was about 3%
That
of
went
it.
into a capital
For
project.
the, for the community that's listening, none of us want to raise the taxes, but this one, I feel, is going to be skin and bones at the end.
I disagree.
So at 6.63, we don't change anything other than
Mayor,
bodies.
you're the captain of the ship.
Yep.
Do you want to take the chance on taking the village down? Go with it.
$310,000 is all by grant funding.
The
That's why it's moved to capital project.
6.9 or whatever it is enough and better. The 9% one gives us $310,000 over, because that's how you took it out. That $310,000 back in a special line, and we don't use it, we can pay down debt. If not, with this one, we're not touching debt.
But are we gonna pay down debt, or are we gonna buy police cars? Are we gonna buy more tools? Are we gonna buy more fire trucks? Are we gonna buy more chief's cars? Are we gonna buy more pickup trucks?
Why not do both? Why not go down with the assumption of the 3.3 with the measures you're talking about and keep it to 9% and let's put $600,000 on the table, right? And then, like you said, like the contingency, and let with all due respect, Kevin, I know you fight hard for all this stuff, but instead of going to each one of these trustees' houses and talking to them, you should have been at the fire department and talking to the heads of every one of these departments. Again, did any one of them concede a dollar?
you have,
All right, question.
I have.
Any one
I
of
have.
them?
all the departments.
Okay.
I have.
Okay. Has any one of those department heads come back and said, I can cut my budget a little bit?
I cut my budget. I cut
They
out the
were,
mayor.
they were pretty much bare bones.
What's that?
We were pretty much down to bare bones with their budgets,
Okay, all right.
okay?
That's it.
And that was at six,
Unless we go after the police
6.63%,
station.
9.69%.
That's where all the fat.
6.63%, they were pretty much at bare bones.
We have senior citizens on fixed income.
Well, look, from my perspective, bare bones and the contingency is the way to go. But immediately after the budget passes, other stuff has to happen, right? These hard decisions have to get made. Letting go of people is a hard thing to do, but that has to be done. That's just part of being a CEO or a manager or an owner, and that's what you are. You're trustees, right? So if you have people within your departments, or you have entire departments that don't benefit you and don't have this, we're going back to where we were last week, right? The money is not there. $30 million. I don't think you grasp $30 million, okay? if we put an extra $500,000 a year in, for 60 years it would take you to pay that back, right? We understand math, right? 60 years, okay?
Most of that $30 million comes out of water and sewer, because
Yes,
we did the
correct.
water and sewer infrastructure project for $20 million.
Understood, but there's gonna be
Okay.
more things that are gonna come into the water and sewer, right? That, like Lori says, like, there's natural disasters, there's unexpected things that come up.
left at 3%.
There's 200,000 just in.
Yeah,
3%, it goes until 2052.
Yeah.
That's how he's paying it off.
I mean, my argument has never been, personally, I can't speak on everybody, my argument has never been bringing that if you're going over the cap, you're going over the cap. It's never been bring it down as low as we can to this point. It's be responsible with that extra money. If you're gonna have an extra $500,000, $600,000 or $400,000, like you said, keep it in contingency.
I understand what you're saying, but I'm also out for the elderlies in this village that live here, and they can't afford it.
Oh, yeah,
And
yeah,
6%, they're gonna be calling my phone tomorrow morning and yelling and
100%.
screaming at me, and I know one of them in the second ward is gonna be yelling and screaming at me and saying, I told you not to raise the taxes, I can't afford to live here anymore.
It's 100%, I totally agree with you.
And
I already talked to
Yeah.
Mary Shafella.
We have, in 2020,
That's one of
they
them.
raised it 8.9%.
What's that? Yeah, 2 years ago, right?
And there were a lot of projects that have been on the table since 2016-17 that we have now come to fruition and we have to address. We are finally gaining stability and acknowledging all these projects that are closing out. My recommendation would be to move forward with a sound budget that addresses all those components and give yourself another year of stability to look at where we are with amortization, build our credit back up, and to address this going forward and do a plan. We need a capital plan. And that is what we said to the State Controller's Office we will have by November. So it's all about smart planning. So,
Understood. I think something that needs to be taken into consideration with that, though, when you say 3%, and I know, like you say, with like the seniors and people that are on a fixed income.
There's a lot of seniors in this village.
No, it's understanding that 6% is just on the village portion of it. And the other thing too, or let's say 3.5 or whatever, 3.75.
3.45.
But to balance that out, they have to understand that the expectation, it could be 3% this year and 8%, 9% next year, right? Or 12% next year. It's forecasting next year and understanding.
2 years ago, we just went 8%, and now there's nothing. Now we're going 7%. So what are we gonna go, every 2 years?
It's gonna, and that's what the pattern is gonna be. The only reason why we didn't have it last year is because they didn't pay bills.
Right.
Right?
I made a responsible budget that addressed
The
that.
previous board spent like drunken sailors.
Yeah, I mean,
And spend on one department millions of dollars. And think nothing of it.
So
And then
just-
we're paying for that.
so just shooting from the hip, contractual obligations for next year, like you're saying, right? It's already gonna go over 2%,
Of course.
right?
Well, the ambulance will, but
Right.
we've addressed that.
What I'm saying, the overall budget, the overall levy, I can guarantee it starts at 2% and just works its way up from there,
The benefit-
whatever is
And the
unexpected this
benefit
year.
is that the lobby day up in Albany back in February, they have discussed finally raising our aim, which is $44,372 every year for the last 11 years. So they finally understand that the unfunded mandates have gone up excessively, that they need to help us. So we should be seeing an increase in that again. And
The end game of this is at 3.45% and 6.63% is $145,500. That's it. That's the end. That's the number.
That's the difference between the two.
That's the difference between the two.
my recommendation is if they're gonna
6.63
raise
is
it
only
with that,
$200.
to do the same cuts that they were gonna do here, but
It's only an extra $145,500 in the budget. That's all it is.
Yeah, but it's.
That's all it is.
But is,
If the paper I gave you showed you yesterday, it's only an extra $145,000. That's it.
and then
20,000.
I would say you still make the cuts.
but what's, right, exactly, you have to
But
still
you
make the
have to
cuts
make
to make
sure-
that spread, right? It's unfortunately, it has to happen, because you have to be working in both directions to compound it, right? It's just the way that you have to do
There's
this.
a department that is so fat that it's gonna take time. We're out of time.
Yeah, and that's gonna be after the budget,
That's
and,
after the budget, and we all know basically what's happening, but we need to make these cuts. But waiting to the last minute, which, people, I don't wanna throw people under the bus or anything like that, but as far as people doing this budget and then running to my house and saying, here, and not leaving the highway page out and leaving out the treasurer's page, that ain't telling me nothing. To me, I don't like it, it's being shoved down my throat.
I didn't shove it down your throat. I spent an hour and a half in your
So
driveway.
is it worth just asking each trustee their opinion on this? Going down the line, like, that's what I'm interested in, is where are they at? Where's each person at? I like this, I don't like this, I'm willing to concede this.
And you-
Because if I need to walk out tonight with an
You
approved
know how I
budget.
feel. You can more than welcome do it. I already expressed my opinion on it, so.
I would like to go 663.
With what in the budget? With status quo, or with making the cuts of this and putting the rest in contingency in case there's a shortfall?
There's always gonna be a shortfall.
I'll make, Mr. Mayor, I'll agree with trustee Marshall, and I agree with our treasurer. I would say 663 while adopting these budget numbers, with the rest going to contingency.
Is that a motion?
I'll make a motion.
So, well, let me get 663, what budget are we gonna follow?
He said with this budget, the 3.45, the rest going into contingency.
Okay,
See,
so,
I made the motion with following the 663, period. Without doing this.
You had two separate motions on the table. in front of you.
No, we got
I
one
don't-
motion, 1 second. Was that a second, Bob?
No, they're two separate things they're talking about.
I do not want to do away with the highway employee or the dispatcher, which he came in and.
Dispatchers are going, that's Calabrese.
Bob just said he don't want to do away with them, so now they're staying.
Well, that's his motion. John's is the 6.3 with the contingency.
Is there a second for John's motion?
second John.
Second John's.
Okay.
Oh, you beat me.
Okay, got a second by trustee Ruffin.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed?
We do a roll call on that?
Yeah, you're gonna.
Yeah.
Because I don't know how many we have.
Trustee Marshall,
Nay,
nay on the 6 point.
with using her cut, with cutting the,
I have a motion to go at, trustee Tillishek made a motion to go with 66.3
With the three,
With
with
the
the new budget.
contingencies.
Yeah.
with the new budget.
with the cuts of the highway guy
With the
and
cuts of 3.45.
Yes.
cutting the highway department. I'm not for that, nay.
Trustee Nicholas,
Yes.
trustee Smith,
Yes.
trustee
Nash.
Ruffin,
Yes.
Hang on, we're voting.
and trustee Mash.
Yes.
Carried. Oh, Mayor.
I'm not for really to raise the taxes that high. I mean, I get these phone calls every day in my office. They know it when it's budget time, the elderlies. I've sat in the town of Wappinger's office, and there was quite a few people in their 60s,
Well, you don't
early
have to-
60s.
You don't have to
Explain
vote.
yourself.
Yes.
And they were complaining about water prices and how high they are because they're outside users and they live in the village. So if that table there yells, I know the rest of the village yells. I know quite a few elderly people that live in this village, and I respect their concerns. So,
May I say something? Ladies, I'm sorry, but I don't know any other way to do this. So, I'm giving you my best shot.
Are people going to be losing their jobs?
Yes.
Where? Which?
Highway, they're gonna split the police department, part-time dispatchers.
I don't think they should hire any more officers. I mean, I think.
No,
they-
just
Yeah,
dispatchers.
Yeah, should be a freeze.
Dispatchers,
dispatchers.
just dispatchers, and which we're dire need of.
Kathy, we'll publish the list of what is going to be done, so this way you can have a copy of it.
But the one guy they're hiring that's highly qualified,
You
that
don't
they're
have to
firing
vote.
at the highway department,
Are you
shouldn't
gonna
be the one to go. But you know what? This is what they're voting on,
That's
so let them
up
be.
to the mayor of seniority.
Okay, it's 5-1.
Kevin?
Yes.
You have a question?
Mrs. Rogers,
Yeah, you already voted on it. It's 6.63%
percent.
plus 3% more.
No,
No.
no,
She said 6.
Where are you coming up with the 9%?
That was
the
tentative.
original
That
one.
2 weeks ago it was 9%, then it went down to 6.63, now it's gone down to 3. We're just saying we're gonna spend the 3,
The only thing I
but
like-
put the other extra towards debt savings for emergencies.
I have been working tirelessly with Treasurer Java,
Sunday at night.
6 days a week. And Sundays I'm here Sundays morning with her for 5-6 hours.
It's a lot of work. and
It's a lot of work. It's a lot of work into this
It's not fun,
thing.
it's not something anybody wants to do, but it's a
Here's the
necessity.
point,
And
here's
I'm
the
just-
point I'm driving at. It wouldn't be bad if you spent with her and the mayor spending 5 weekends up here, Sundays, if the board was included. But we were not included.
Trustee Marshall, you were appointed, I mean, you were seated April 1st. We did our.
Listen.
I have my
Did
whole
you hear
budget
what I
book.
said?
Oh, I heard what you said. I heard what you said loud and clear in my office every day sitting outside, calling me a liar, calling me a bitch. Should I go on?
No, go
Should
ahead.
I go on the
Do you have
phone calls
proof
that
of
are coming? Yeah, I do.
Yeah, well, where is it?
The person you told on the phone.
I'm not talking to nobody on the phone. When I talk to you,
This is an executive session.
Oh, yeah, this is for
Mr.
sure.
Mayor,
Yes.
may I mention one other thing? I do want to say, because I'm relatively new on the board, some people are newer than I, but you're right, we're up here, your neighbors and your friends and neighbors, and this is not easy, and I want to give credit. I thank the mayor for coming sitting on my porch yesterday. I'll come here to pick up my mail on a Saturday at 5 o'clock, and the treasurer is here.
Yeah,
So people need to know that these people are working hard.
Yeah.
This is not something that, you can just do on the fly. So these are real hard questions. If it was easy, it wouldn't be here. Be done.
People that are paying attention understand that, John.
I just want to put
It's
that
just a
out
matter
there.
of getting it out there clearly. And Kevin, you're right. As the mayor and as the executive, your concern first and foremost is for everybody, and the fact that you're taking into consideration the seniors and everybody else. It's on the 6%. I think that's responsible, and I think it's a easier pill to swallow for anybody. That money, the intention of that is that as long as it doesn't need to be used, it's going to go towards the
Well,
debt
that's what I
service
was
that we're going to have.
Here's what I'd like to do. Since you're cutting one guy from highway, you should cut one person from every department.
That's not up for debate here, I think, but.
That's the way. If you're gonna cut one, you should cut them all.
Yeah, why not? They did it last year. They cut a water department and made a person do 2 jobs.
That's right.
You want to cut them all? We can cut them all.
Let's cut them all.
Mr. Whitelake.
I'd like to compliment the board for making a tough decision. I think most of us in the audience understand that that's what you just voted on is not entirely what any of you would want. But I think you're doing fiscally the most endless job, the most responsible thing for our village. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
You see how many's interested, you see who's all here all the time. Where's everybody?
There's a lot of people that are paying attention.
They're paying
I hear
attention.
from a lot of people, and a lot of
I
people
know,
are.
it's on social media.
YouTube, it's on YouTube right now.
Here.
Why aren't they here saying something?
They'll say it on social media.
Yeah.
And,
Well, there's a lot of people that don't have the courage to come forward. They're worried they own businesses. They're worried about repercussions. They're worried about a lot of things. It's not easy to come up, even for myself. I'm a businessman. I have clients. I have everything. But it's just for me when I see something I'm very passionate about it. I spend a lot of time in the village. I spend a lot of my own volunteer hours and everything else.
You
And
see, a
it's-
lot of people don't live in the village that has something to say on it.
Well, I don't know what.
That's 50% of it.
We have a motion.
Exactly.
I get a motion to
I
adjourn.
have a motion to adjourn.
I'll make that motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried. Thank you.
Yes. Doesn't look like that.